Welcome to Thriving Tribesmen. My name is Kuri, your host, and I'm excited to be making this episode. We're going to be talking about, that's part 3 of how does a sexless marriage affect men. In fact, we started off on Monday. We talked about the impact of self-worth and masculinity. Yesterday we talked a little bit more about the emotional strain and how that affects the decision making, and then how that pushes us towards loneliness. So today we're going to be talking a little bit more about when you are lonely, and how then you try and communicate, and how that communication breaks down, and then the relationship dynamic also changes because of that communication. And one of the things that most people say is that if you met somebody who was getting divorced, and they were just got divorced, it's been finalized, and then you said to them, what is your number one advice about getting married? The first thing they'll say is probably don't get married because they're a little bit better. But if you push them as and you say, no, I really want to get married, just give me some advice and tips on what to do, they'll tell you that the number one thing that you need to know about marriage is that you need to have good communication. But everybody says that, but we still find ourselves in shitty marriages, and really nobody's ever broken down what it means when it says communication is number one key to a good relationship. I believe what that means is not communication to your partner. I think it's communication to yourself. So your self-dialogue, how you talk about yourself, how you see yourself, similar to self-worth. When you do something wrong and then you say, I'm stupid, or I'm dumb, or I'm useless. When you speak like that to yourself, that again communicates something when you now communicate with people. And again, it's not even the words that you use when you communicate with the person. It's the non-verbal communication. When you think you're dumb, again, it can be supplicating the behavior. What that means is you give leadership to her because you don't think you're worth anything. So again, becomes very important on what sort of communication you have. Yes, you have to communicate with the other person, but again, that communication is really more important on what is that self-dialogue that you have. When you have better self-dialogue, you will have better dialogue with the other person, because the difference between those is that one of them will come from a scarcity mindset, and then the other one will come from a place of abundance. And when you have terrible self-dialogue, it comes from a scarcity. So when you approach the relationship, you're looking to take from the relationship, which is a very value-lowering position. Whereas if you're coming from a place of abundance, you're a place of contribution to the relationship, which is quite more leadership position, which is very important. When it comes to communication, this is a bit that breaks down. And when it breaks down, it is one of the things that I speak to a lot of guys when they say, we've had a sexless relationship, I've tried everything. And the main thing that they've tried is sit her down and try and communicate that, the lack of sex is affecting them and is also affecting the way they approach the relationship. And generally, that's usually the terrible way of doing it, because usually when you communicate to women, they generally can be sympathetic, but sometimes will not be as empathetic to what you're saying. So they might understand and feel horrible that the situation has arisen. And worst of all, if it's something that's to do with sexual discomfort that she doesn't understand is going on, generally she won't take any accountability for the ways you're feeling right now, especially when it comes down to sex, where she feels sexual discomfort. She ends up finding anything to blame you. So for example, it starts off as you talking about the lack of sex, then all of a sudden it's all about how you have caused stress, how you are not available emotionally, how you have done X and Y and Z, and all of a sudden you have an incredible list of shit that you're not doing and the reason why sex is not happening. And like good boys, you take down that list and then you start trying to work your way through fixing that list. But really, she's giving you superficial things that are really not changing the relationship. Again, this is where the communication breakdown is, because again, most guys are so desperate to change the sexless relationship that you're willing to do anything and everything to make it change. And again, it's I think by the end of this, I'm going to try to teach you some discernment so you can see what's good to do and what's not good to do, because not everything that she says that you should be doing is always coming from a place of contribution. Sometimes it's just a shield that she's using in order to not move out of her comfort zone, especially when she feels she's in a defensive position from actually having sex with you. She might actually put up stuff that are incredibly impossible to work through, incredibly difficult to fix, or sometimes you can execute, but it's never good enough. So, and I'm preaching to the choir because you've heard this before and you've seen this before playing out into your relationship. So when it comes to the communication breakdown, a lot of it is really what are you conveying, especially, and you have to actually think about, okay, what are the types of communication? In fact, the first one we can start off with is that communication to yourself. What is that self dialogue? How do you talk about yourself, and how do you build a little bit of that? And it's similar to what we talked about with self-esteem, which is that you do difficult things, but more importantly, when it comes to self-dialogue, is, and I know I don't do this as often, but when you are within interactions, you catch yourself, really, whenever you're about to say I'm stupid or I'm whatever, you need to catch yourself. And by doing so, you catch yourself, you see something positive. Now, I know most people think that's woo-woo, but it's incredibly powerful. And then the other bit I can tell you that you can do is write on a piece of paper or something that you can see every single day. And don't write it on your phone, write it on a piece of paper. You write 4 things that you want to achieve. So on the top line, you have to write about, the amount of money you want to make, the vacation that you want to go to, maybe the home that you want to upgrade to, where you want to go, and write the specifics. And then within the next line, you write what are the sort of tasks that you need to do every single day in order to achieve that. So, I need to be reading more books, I need to go do more courses, I need to do whatever it takes you to end up getting to that desired result. So that becomes your daily inputs. So from a daily perspective, these are the things that I'm going to be doing. And then on the third line, you talk about the character. What sort of person do you have to be in order to achieve that? And what are the other things that you need to do? So, for example, do I need to be eating properly? Do I need to be exercising? Do I need to be sleeping better? Do I need to be doing? So those are things that you can look at. And the fourth one, it's more to do with your relationship. How do you show up to your relationship? What are the things that you want to do? What are those character flaws that so you have this real map, almost like a blueprint of how you want to live your life. You look at that piece of paper every single day. It's a way of reconnecting to that. What is your mission? And as you do that over a period of time, you'll see that your relationship becomes a place where you contribute rather than wanting to take from the relationship, which is a massive shift when it comes to communicating, because a lot of the communication within a relationship is what we call the nonverbal. So what you do, what you say, and how you act is more important than what you say with your words. And if what you say with your words is you wanting to take from the relationship, is got a very devaluing effect to your relationship, which is absolutely insane when you think about it. That people are meant to sit down to try and talk things out, and when and this is why therapy doesn't work. It's it's bullshit. Therapy is absolutely shit, because when you sit people down and then you try to talk to them, there's a lot of variables in there that, what are the motivations for those people to be sitting down? Is that other person being dragged by their wrist to come and sit down and talk about this? Do they want to resolve it? Are you on the right path? So there's a lot of things that are spinning plates within counseling. And I know a lot of you guys are doing counseling already, and you can see what I'm talking about. That you're talking to your spouse, and sometimes it ends up feeling like you're in a wrestling match, and the counselor is the referee, because now you're trying to figure out how much dirt can I put on my partner so that the counselor can see my side, or be on my side. So again, when it comes to communication, it becomes way more than what we say and what we talk about. And I know a lot of you guys, when you do communicate, it almost feels like you when you communicate to your partner. And I wrote to my notes here, I'm laughing because I was saying this earlier this week, that when most people communicate with their partners, it is similar to trying to sell snow to an Eskimo. And I don't know if that's politically correct. I'm sorry if that's offensive. Anyways, trying to selling snow to an Eskimo is like, they see this stuff. The stuff is around them all the time. And me selling that to them, they're like, well, there's plenty of this stuff. So, and this is sort of the mentality that they get when it comes to sex, when they say, because you're over prescribing sex to the relationship. And again, as a communication standpoint, and your communication being non-verbal, it devalues everything that you're doing when you're oversubscribing. And this is one of the reasons why when we initially start working together within our community, is that we teach you about the sexual reset, that you don't initiate, you don't talk about sex, you don't do anything about it. What you want to communicate is that I'm giving you the space, and while she might have relief that you're not chasing, that relief turns into, okay, why is he not chasing anymore? And then that's when it becomes easier to start turning a sexless relationship. Because at the moment, you're just pouring, you're just giving yourself consistently. And if she's already got sexual discomfort, it is similar to a gay guy coming to offer up sex to me when I'm heterosexual. Like, never gonna happen. And that's the simplest thing that if that gay guy just continues trying his luck, and I'm like, dude, the answer for this time is similar to the answer last time, that it's never gonna happen, because that's not how I roll. So it's the same thing, that guys, when she's got this sexual discomfort, you coming over and over and asking is got a bearing effect. So you're not bearing any sexual desire that she might have, because all of a sudden she's like, well, I've got this sexual discomfort, you keep coming, trying to offer up sex, and I don't feel comfortable, and it's got this vicious cycle, which is quite terrible, which you end up in, where when she does have sex with you, it's out of obligation rather than what her desiring, because all of a sudden she, out of the social side of things, she'll realize that, okay, not having sex is a terrible thing, and you're obviously looking like you're depressed, you're whatever. So in order just to give you a little bit of something, I'm just going to have sex with you or maybe she recognizes the time, like, oh shit, it's been 6 months since we last had sex, so maybe let me do something in order to, again, and 9 times out of 10, when she says, when it's duty sex, it's probably 80% for herself rather than for you. Yes, she's giving you, that's 20%, that, okay, at least I got some sex, but it's more for her that she feels like, oh shit, I'm a terrible wife. And that terrible wife feeling continues growing to the point where it's unbearable. And then she goes, okay, I need to do something about this. And then she does a bit and she goes, okay, I've done my investment. I'm now going to leave it for another 6 months. So really, when it comes to communicating that, especially we talked about sexual communication, or how to communicate your sexuality in previous episodes last week. And we're talking a little bit about scarcity. We talked about how to build value around that. So it's something that you can go and look at as well on that episode. I think this correlates a lot to that when it comes to the communication breakdown within a relationship, especially when it comes to also building communication. Again, there's other several strategies on how we teach you how to communicate in such a way that you're forcing her to grow, and then there's some times where we teach you how to communicate in a way where you back off, but then at the same time you're creating enough of a gap for her to grow. So again, it's something that is beyond the scope of this episode, because for me to teach you that piece would be another hour lesson, which I think we can cover definitely when you join the community. So again, communicating your value becomes very important within a relationship, and most of the communication of your value, I think I'm going to finish off on this bit here, is that when you're communicating your value drivers for sex are just definitely mostly you being dominant within the relationship. Now, if you've your first time listening to this podcast episode, I talk a lot about dominance, and dominance is really important because as you become comfortable being dominant within the relationship, and again, by the way, dominance isn't you removing any decision making on her part or you putting her down. What it is giving her an environment where she's free to be of service to the relationship, but also free to be able to follow. And the other side of dominance, especially from her side, when you operate correctly in dominance, it elicits submission from her. And again, submission isn't her, kneeling down and being of servitude, but really it's more about her trusting and having confidence in your leadership, that as you become very good in your decision making, she then has trust on that. And as she builds trust around that, what then tends to happen is that she becomes submissive, and more importantly, she becomes compliant when it comes to seduction. So it's something that she then wants to be connected to with you, because again, you're showing her the traits that attract it to you. Now, when we talk about dominance, there's 3 traits that she needs to see. And those traits is the ability to protect. And again, that could be physically, mentally, financially. If you can do that for your family and you can see that that's your mission, to be able to protect them in that manner, it, on the other side, flip side, it helps her to then not experience anxiety, because all of a sudden, all these things when it comes to protection, you are responsible for. And again, that's by being able to have the ability to protect, it reduces anxiety on her part. And then strategic thinking, it becomes very, no, sorry, it's not anxiety. It reduces her having fear. And when it reduces fear, it becomes an important part of her life, that she doesn't experience fear when she's around you, when she's around the house. And then you got the next trait is the ability to think, the strategic thinking. And that's when you can do a little bit more planning when situations arise. You have solutions. You have solutions that are not only to remedy what's going on right now, but also be things that will be able to be long-lasting and be able to be effective over a long period of time. When she can see that happening over a period of time, she starts trusting the fact that you can make good decisions that are collaborative within the relationship. Now, most people make decisions based on how they can get sex within that relationship. That kills the trust. And then over a period of time, that actually is got a detrimental effect to her sex life. But when she sees that you make decisions that are for the family, that are really going to impact the family in a positive way, her, the children, that becomes something that she trusts. And what that does, it reduces anxiety around just life. And again, most people, just as a side note, most people's relationships, and a large chunk of you guys, I know the reason why you're not having sex is she's told you that she's got anxiety, she's got stress, she's got depression. A lot of it is because you're not behaving and communicating the traits that she needs to see in order for her to feel comfortable. She at some point actually feels that she has to lead the relationship, because you've decided to give her leadership, because you think, if I give her leadership of the relationship, it gives her enough freedom, then that way she might find me in a favorable view, that I might be able to have sex. But again, it's more destructive when you do that. So really, when you have strategic thinking, this helps her to reduce anxiety. And when she reduces anxiety, it makes it easier for her to give you the place where you can lead, because you can trust your judgment, because again that becomes very powerful. And then the last trait is resilience, that you are going to make decisions based on the information that you have, but your decisions cannot influence the outcome. And because of that, when the things go wrong, you have to have resilience. And when you do have resilience it gives you an opportunity to make good decisions again. And again, when you can do this consistently, this helps you then to not suffer with any depression, which is absolutely complete contrast to what you hear other people say, go to counseling and then get drugs. Now, by all means, if there's self-harm and other things like that, definitely need to go and see somebody who's a professional who deals with that sort of stuff. But a lot of the anxiety and stress and fear that we feel is based off of the things that we're communicating within our relationship. When we walk in, the way we talk, the way we approach the relationship, the way we do decision making, logistics of the relationship, and what you do, all of that stuff, how you operate in that household, influences how she feels about life and the marriage and what's going on. When you can be dominant, it allows her to then be submissive, and that dynamic allows it then not to experience those feelings in a way that is destructive to the relationship. Now, notice that I said it helps you not to feel that way within the relationship. Doesn't mean it's going to completely go away. We need fear, we need anxiety, we need stress, we need depression. Those are indicators, so you will always have them. But when those are happening and experiencing that, it gives you a signal to then see where your behavior is influencing that, and then you change your behavior, which is a completely different approach, because most of you guys, when it comes to communication, you're trying to convince somebody from a logical perspective. I'm going to sit you down and then tell you a series of words and hopefully make a decision. But really, it's not a logical problem that you're in a sexless relationship. It's a behavioral problem that you're in a sexless relationship. So we've covered quite a lot on this episode, and my intention is to really give you a broader view on how you're affected by the sexless marriage. And hopefully I'm covering enough of the information. And I think we're on day 4. I could go up to day 7, but I think we might finish it tomorrow or Friday. Tomorrow we'll be talking a little bit more about coping mechanisms and relationship satisfaction. That's something I think that's going to be interesting to talk about. The coping mechanisms is something that is more destructive in terms of if you were walking towards fixing your sexless relationship, this would be the thing that takes you 10 steps back. So you already know, if you can resolve this is one of the things that can be pushing you further forward in changing your sexless relationship. So thank you very much, guys, for listening. This has been incredibly challenging for me to make these episodes, to make them as concise as possible. I've tried to give you as much information as well, so when you walk away from these episodes, you can have something to think about, but more importantly, something to act on and really start changing the sexless relationship. I love changing you guys' lives. I want to have that opportunity to actually speak to you guys and really be interacting with you, so I can actually help you change your relationship. And we can call audibles. There's an opportunity to go and join our community. There's some information in the description below how you can do that. The one way that you can do that is actually go and get one of our free trainings. It will show you 3 tactics that you need in order to start changing your sexless relationship. So you go and see that, and you can find it at Thriving Tribesmen. Just hang on a second. I almost really. So it's www.thrivingtribesmen.com/free training. So that's the one. And then if you've got any questions, go to Thriving underscore Tribesmen on our Instagram. Then you can ask any questions over there. So thank you very much, guys. I'll be seeing you guys soon. Take care.